So, welcome everybody to the second official podcast of the Case for Black Reparations. And it is a podcast that focuses on the continued education of untaught or distaught, if you will, miseducated facts and knowledges that help us improve our experience as Black people. And so today we have the one, the only Miss JaeOrganics. So definitely introduce yourself to however extent of comfortability you want. And also plug your company, do whatever you want with these first couple of minutes. It's all you.
Okay, great. Well, first, I want to thank you for having me here. I feel like this podcast is so important. I love that it's the Case for Black Reparations, because I feel like a lot of times people think that reparations is just money, but it's not. It's knowledge, because we were stripped of so much knowledge and information. So I'm so happy that you're touching on that. But yes, again, my name is JaeOrganics, and I am a health coach and yoga instructor. You guys can follow me on Instagram at JAE_organics, and I have virtual yoga classes that I love to teach. I really like to see these yoga classes as healing sessions, just for all of us, because a lot of times we're kind of on autopilot, and our mind is also on autopilot, and we're just stuck in these habits and routines. And it's really important to slow down, at least, like I would say every day, but if you can't do it every day, at least once a week, to slow down and to reconnect with yourself, so that you can, make sure that you're checking in and that you're doing what you need to do, so that you're able to fulfill your life purpose and you're not over here just living for somebody else.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yes. Okay. Just starting from that bit right there, there's so much I want to take from it. So, first, what are, if you will, different ways that we can slow down just from day-to-day life outside of just, what we know about sitting down and for 30 minutes plus repeating Om in the, like, for those of us that have that idea of what meditation is, what are more ways?
Well, I know a lot of people don't want to meditate, but I feel like that is the simplest and the easiest way to connect with yourself, because you're breathing every single day, right? And a lot of us, we take our breath for granted.
Right.
So in my opinion, I feel like the easiest way to slow down is just to close your eyes and just observe the feeling of the air coming in your nose and out of your nose. Notice if it's cool. Notice if it's warm. Notice if one nostril is working more than the other. Like, just observe, because that's going to help you actually be in this present moment and to see things as they are. Because a lot of times we're putting our own filters and perceptions on things, and we're not seeing reality for what it is. Right. So when you actually connect with your body and you observe your body for what it is, it helps you to actually connect with the world and observe the world for what it is without putting these filters on it. So definitely just slowing down and breathing. Even if you just do it for 2 minutes, even if you just do it for that, I would recommend, 30 minutes. But for some people, that's too much. And you don't have to chant. Like, if you don't feel comfortable doing the ohms, you don't have to do that. Just observe yourself as you are. And if that's too much, you can even just go outside and look at nature and just observe nature. Observe what you see. Like, how do the, trees look? How do the leaves look? How does the dirt feel? And just try to be in the present moment, instead of like thinking like, I need to cook this, I need to do this, I need to do that. Like, just be here, stay here, stay right here.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I like to like really encourage. And that's why I love yoga, because when you're doing yoga, you're forced to stay here. Because when you're doing the different poses and trying to get it right and moving your body around, you can't think that much.
Right.
So it's a moving meditation. So that's another way. And even exercising. If you exercise, don't listen to music and just enjoy the exercise, be there. That's also another way. So really, I guess the gist is just to be in the present moment.
Yeah.
Stay here.
I really appreciate all those examples, because there's one, knowing that there's more than one way to be mindful of ourselves and our environments, to just be and to just relax. is incredible to what it does to our bodies, our minds, and our just entire systems, because it's just allowing us to repair almost. Like it's just, we're relaxing to the point where we're not overworking ourselves. And so our body gets a little moment of rest in like every day, every second.
Exactly.
Definitely. So what, in current day situations, let's say that, we're in the spirit of COVID, and the amount of uncertainty that exists does way more to our stress than we probably understand, for the majority of us. So what are ways that just going around and being living day to day and having all of this uncertainty, kind of like, in what ways do you personally handle uncertainty that releases the stress out of it? So you can be in the moment, but you understand that a future is ahead of us, but you can still enjoy and take care of yourself in that moment.
The biggest thing for me right now is gratitude. Just showing gratitude for the blessings and what I have. And just even, I'm always going to use yoga as an example, but even like when I'm doing yoga and I'm at the end and I'm in Shavasana, which is where you're just laying on your back and your eyes are closed. I just show gratitude for that peace, because even though it's so much craziness in the world, I just show gratitude for having this peace in my home that I'm able to cultivate. And even when like I make my food, I'm showing so much gratitude towards the food, because a lot of times we take a lot for granted. Like we don't realize how much it takes to get this food on your plate. Like somebody had to grow it, and then they had to transport it, and then you have to go to the store and you have to have money to be able to buy it, and then you have to actually cook it. So it's so much that goes into it. So for me, it's really just showing gratitude, because even though life is uncertain, it's always uncertain. Like it may seem more uncertain now, right? It may seem more uncertain, but it's always uncertain.
Right.
So just showing gratitude for what is going right and focusing on that. And that helps me stay in the present moment and just not really worry.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. Definitely taking that suggestion and moving on that. I just continue to hear like the theme of definitely yoga and gratitude and peace, and how it all relates to one another. So in your own words, how would you describe yoga in relations to the ability that it allows us to practice gratitude and the ability that allows us to experience peace?
Okay, so when I think about yoga, well, this is the way that I like to use yoga, because you can also use other forms of movement, but I like to use yoga to observe my body. And so as I'm doing different poses that require my legs, I observe my legs and I show gratitude for my legs, that they're healthy and that they're working. I'll observe my arms, notice how my arms are feeling, and I'll show gratitude for my arms. If I'm doing something where my heart rate is starting to go up and I feel my heart beating, I'll observe my heart and show gratitude for my heart and just say thank you, because it's beating every single day. It doesn't take a break. It doesn't take any time off. So I just like to use yoga to observe my body and to show gratitude for all of the functioning parts of my body. And you can even do that with any exercise. Like if you like to run, you can observe how your legs are feeling while you're running and just be like, thank you, legs. Like, I'm so grateful that I have you, that you're healthy, that I'm able to do this. Thank you, heart. Thank you, arms. Because could you imagine running with just one arm? Like a lot of times we don't show gratitude for things until they're gone. Right. So I'd like to use yoga to just check in and show gratitude for my entire body.
Yeah.
And then that brings me peace, because I'm just like, I have everything I need. Like, I'm good. So, yeah.
Definitely. And now that brings up the last thing you said, you have everything within you, and that brings you peace. That reminds me of a quote that goes like, I have it on my fridge, trying to see it, but it pretty much says, everything that we need is already inside of us. And with that, is that ideology, that philosophy is repeated in like a whole bunch of different readings to just different ancient texts, where pretty much what is outside is inside of us. What we need that we think is external is already internal. So it's really just, being fully aware of everything that we have just as people, as individuals, and definitely being grateful for it. So, yeah.
Exactly. And that is something that like all of the ancient civilizations and texture, am I saying that right? Text. My brain textures. But yeah, that's definitely something that all of the ancient civilizations talk about, because when you think about it, right? If you believe that you're made in God's image, right, and that God's breath was blown into you, or you just believe that you have a spirit or a soul,
Right.
that spirit and that soul has everything that it needs.
Right.
And there's nothing to be fearful of, because even when you pass from this, that soul is still going to live.
Exactly.
And just transition somewhere else. So in essence, we have everything that we need already within us. And it's just our job to bring that out.
Exactly. And so, with bringing that out, that comes with like mastering yourself to the point that you don't have those doubts, that you don't have those bits of yourself that you give into, because we always have freedom of choice. We have free will. So we put ourselves in positions to not bring forth, our purposes in this world, whether that is holistic in your context and just everything that you do. And it's beautiful because the amount of holistic knowledge that is not currently talked about is crazy. So, just opening that up to you, like, what do you want to talk about? Because I know what I want to talk about later in regards with immunity and how to keep us functioning at our best levels, definitely in these times. But what is something that you want to talk about in whatever realm you want to?
Let's see. I guess I also just want to briefly talk about, like, I really just want people to have the confidence to live their purpose and to pursue whatever it is that's bringing them joy and passion. And I just want to put that encouragement out there that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a journey, but it's worth it, because even when I look at my personal life, right? My life has been a journey so far, ever since I graduated from college, because when I was in college, I knew that I wanted to do something that was going to help people. I knew that it was going to do something with like health and wellness, something with healing, right? I knew it was going to be something like that. And ever since I graduated, it hasn't been like a straight shot journey where it's like here to there. It's been windy. It's been crazy. I've learned and explored so many different healing modalities, but it's been healing. And I've been learning so much about myself, and it's all been working out. I may not be at the end destination that I want to be at, but I am enjoying the journey. And I'm glad that I didn't feel pressured to do what everybody says that you should do, or go the typical route. So I just put that out there, like, whatever it is you want to do, just go ahead and do it. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And then any L's that you take, you just got to take it to the chest and like, for real. You just got to take it and keep going.
Artist of the game. It's a part of it,
Exactly. It is a part of it. 100%.
There's a quote that I have that's above my desk, and it comes from the CEO of Shopify, and he was like this. He was a guy who just wanted to sell snowboards, so he created this software, and then boom, somebody was like, "That's like really cool. You should make that like a company." And then all of a sudden, he was a developer, and now he's like CEO of Shopify. So like it's a testament to, or a testimony, if you will, to serendipity, and following that good feeling that comes from following, our internal compasses, if you will. That just, it is the windy path, like you said, but it is a part of, it's the journey, you know, like,
Mhm.
because who knows what the destination is. But
Exactly. And you have no idea where it will lead you.
I know it's, you can't even fathom. So it's just like, it will be bigger than I feel like anything that we even think of. So
Mhm.
don't even try to limit yourself and like fathom what the destination is, because it could be outside of this world, you know? So
Exactly. And you just have to have faith and keep
yeah,
like focusing on the positive aspects.
yes.
Because if you focus on the positive aspects, I feel like it helps you to keep going forward. But
Mm,
if you focus on those L's, no, it's gonna stop you.
yeah, because it'll put you
Yeah,
right back into that rhythm of just being like, I didn't have enough. I knew I wasn't ready for it, you know, and that is just the cycle, the cyclical nature of that scarcity mindset, of that, you know, thinking always in lack and not of abundance. So definitely
exactly.
important.
And we're trying to go on that upward spiral,
I
just keep going
know.
up, up, up.
Yep.
Mhm.
So definitely, you know, failure doesn't exist. It's always just a stepping stone.
Exactly. And the most successful people fail the most.
Exactly.
Because when they fail, they just keep going forward.
Right. And they don't take it
God.
personal. Yeah. They
Mhm.
just keep going,
Exactly.
girl. Yes.
And then also like trust the reroute because
Mhm.
anybody who follows me knows like, I've done a lot of different things.
Yes.
But you learn about yourself through the process and you
Yeah.
have to the reroute because like if you love something, you're not gonna change.
Exactly. That is
But if
very
you
true.
don't love it, then you'll allow yourself to, drift and to go into different places.
Yes. And just one, you know, making sure that you love and be passionate about it. That reminds me of a book that I read, and it's about finding your own North Star, and it's by Martha Beck. And pretty much she's this, I think she's a therapist, because she's writing about clients that she's met, and just she's really interested in people executing their purposes, their reasons to being on this earth. And she has a talent, or a innate ability, if you will, to feel when someone is being untrue to themselves about being on their purpose. So she wrote a book about it. Yeah, it's crazy, but you know, and that's just a testament to when we're supposed to do something, we're given the innate abilities already that sets us onto that path, you know. So it's the skills, our skill sets just grow, but they're natural to us. They just, oh, you know, I'm just good at that, or I gravitate toward that. Like it's, you know, and we brush it off, but they really are characteristics of our purposes.
Exactly. And they're clues, giving you clues to
Exactly.
what your purpose is. Because I feel like that's our whole point and purpose of being here is to find our purpose and to live in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if
So
everybody was living in their purpose, it would be a happier world. Like everybody would be happy instead of miserable.
exactly, because like, and then who knows? It would have just solved everything. Who knows? Because like, if you
Literally.
really did the life, if you lived the life that you were just happy in, you know, when do you have time to answer the annoying phone call, or to really just delve into emotional, just traumatic situations? Like it's just like you have better things to do, and you know you have better things to do, and you're
Mhm.
attracting better things to do. So
Exactly. And if you're feeling good a lot of the time, then
mm,
if something, comes and hits you emotionally, it'll hurt, but then you just let it go. You're like, all
right,
right. And then you go back to feeling good. But if you're
exactly.
constantly in a state of feeling bad,
Mhm.
then if something hits you, it can really break you. And it can
Exactly.
just have a very strong negative impact on you. So I feel like the positivity is kind of like a buffer.
It is. It definitely
Mhm.
is, because it's also like a reaffirmation of just like, you know, I have better. It's kind of like our minds may be so logical to the point where if you're just living positively, you've built up enough, like, I'm now thinking in like a tech way, but you're built up enough like edge cases, or just general cases of the world is a good place. This is just like, you know, one or maybe 10 bad incidences out of like 100 to 1,000. So it just, that is the let go part. We're just like, nah, I'm still okay after this,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, last thing really quick, and that's why it's interesting with the news, because I just wonder, like, if we, like, we're more aware of the positive things going on in the world in the midst of these negative things going on, I feel
Right.
like that would also shift our perspective, because a lot of times on the news, all they talk about is what's going wrong.
Exactly. But,
And it
it's
makes,
marketing, Sorry, what were you going to
exactly.
say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it makes us feel like the world is getting worse.
Exactly.
When in reality, the world's getting better. It's just
Exactly.
a lot of things are coming up that we actually have to deal with.
hmm
So,
It's like,
mhm.
this is the stage in time where it kind of caused just enough of a ruckus so that everything that was just below the surface got like scratched. So now we're like seeing in all the different ways. Definitely, like you said, it was just now we have to deal with it. And so like now it's such a great opportune time. And it's kind of comical, if you will, because in all the uncertainty that's going on right now, we know for sure that we have to change something. Like we either have to change,
Yes.
in the aspects of just all things related to Black, like destitution, all of those things. And there's a list to,
Mhm.
we have to really, really look at politics better. We have to really look at educating ourselves better. We have to really look at taking care of ourselves better. Because end of the day, coronavirus is respiratory. That's how it started. Now, with all the mutations and everything that they say happen, I don't know what the current state of the virus is, but just, the people who had the immunity already and the respiratory, those who were able to have the respiratory conditions to avoid it were pretty much unscathed by it. And I do
Mhm.
want to say, I do want to just like add in, because this is something I noticed in the beginning. In the beginning, they sent out like the actual test data. And so they compared the amount of people that were contracting the coronavirus. And this was in the time of when Europe was shut down. So it was definitely in like one of the peaks, because there's been several after. But they reported that only 3% of the people died from coronavirus. And they sent that out. And then after, because it conflicted with what the news was saying, because the news was just shooting the case after case after case, they erased the data. But it's like, you know, more people die from cancer, more people die from asthma, more people die from all of these diseases that comes from our diet and our lifestyles, but they were overshadowed in the news of what coronavirus was. So that's something I definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the interesting thing to me, because the number one cause of death in the United States is heart disease.
Exactly.
So it's just like, we're already living in a pandemic.
Exactly.
Like we've already been living in this kind of state of just disease for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting that this coronavirus is getting so much light.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this is just another trigger that's really going to cause us to change the way that we see health and to really start taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least to my knowledge, from what I've realized and just gathered from everything, the main reason that people are dying is because of the respiratory issue, which you brought up, because a lot of the mucus is accumulating in the lungs, and then it begins to harden, and then people can't breathe,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the way to combat it, in my mind, seems pretty logical. Like, you want to avoid mucus forming foods, and then you want to eat foods that break down mucus in the body, and then also take herbs that break down mucus, and then also take herbs that are anti-inflammatory.
Exactly.
It just seems pretty logical. But the issue is that we live in contradiction to, to health.
Yes.
Because we traditionally eat a lot of mucus forming foods every single day.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll get into it really quick. Like those mucus forming foods are meat, unfortunately, dairy,
right,
white flour,
right,
sugar,
mm-hmm.
and then of course, fried foods, but that has the white flour in it,
Mm-hmm.
and processed foods like chips, crackers, cookies, all of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get sick with the coronavirus, please do not go and eat some bread and drink some water. Because I
Right.
know a lot of people, that's like the home remedy, like just eat some bread, drink some water. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are mucus forming foods. So those are foods that you would want to stay away from.
Yes.
And then in contrast, like foods that are going to break down the mucus is like citrus.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to have like a lot of lemons, limes, oranges, vitamin C, which that's in all those citrus foods. Sea moss,
right.
of course, is going to help. You see that everywhere. Everybody's selling it now.
Right.
Just make sure you get the good one. Black seed oil is also helpful. And then also doing like a steam.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that before, where people will do like the actual steam. That helps too.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
and this is the meat of what I wanted to talk about, actually.
Okay.
So, just so for everyone that's going to be listening, she's talking about in regards to the American diet, it's labeled the standardized American diet. It literally translates to SAD. The diet. That's literally what they call it. So that's the diet for the Western world. All of us who just eat burgers and French fries and milkshakes and chicken wings and the very accessible food choices that just are in our communities, and they are mucus forming, and more so because mucus that related to the inflammatory foods, that's a mucus elimination diet. So introducing the citruses and the sea moss, and you can introduce them in normal way. So like in the morning, I take sea moss applesauce and I just blend them together and I put some cinnamon. Yes. And then
girl, that's a good idea.
You have to keep it, like, being healthy can be fun and enjoyable. Like, I think that's the biggest thing people need to understand, because otherwise they're just going to see like all these disparate like foods and fruits and vegetables that maybe they didn't even know existed before. And people, as humans, we're creatures of comfort. So it has to look like something that we know for us to even try it. So girl, yeah, that's definitely what I gave to my friends. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's sea moss. So it tastes really good. So sea moss applesauce in the mornings. I make sure I drink lime water with anything, and I keep my limes and I let it like sit in the water. And that just, my skin is amazing. It's just, and that's just, a external indicator for how well the internal systems are. That's our skin. That's just, because I study like books about skin and all the organs and things like that, because it really is kind of our cars, how the car blinks when something's wrong, like a check engine light or something like that. Our skin can definitely show, the parts of us that need some help. So,
yeah, it's a mirror.
So let me see. Let's talk about how, one more example. So, when we get sick, we go to the doctor. This is kind of example to make sure that it translates across every bridge, if you will. So when we go to the doctor and we get sick, they say, stop drinking milk and, remove all the dairy out of your system and stop drinking, stop consuming red meats. They especially say that when we have cancer. But, so we've already heard of mucus eliminating diets, even without the fancy terminology. So, let's just talk more about how important our diet relates to how we can fend off diseases, how we personally feel within ourselves, Just, we can even get into like the energy trophic levels of it all, however you want to go with it. I just definitely want to make sure that everyone hears how important taking care of ourselves are, because that is, like you said, that is an addition to what the Case for Black Reparations is about, because it's not just money, like you said, it's repairing the whole. And so let's just get started about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, food is so important. Honestly, it's so underrated. But food is something that we're eating every single day. If you do something every single day, it's going to have an impact on you. So the foods that we eat is so important. And just to your point, like about the Case for Black Reparations, food is really important for us. And it's also important for us to understand what our ancestors were eating. Because anybody that has melanin in their body, that means that your ancestors come from areas where it's pretty hot and tropical. So if you think about what they were eating, they were probably eating a lot of seeded fruits. So you should eat more seeded fruits. That's a part of the mucus elimination diet. Eating a lot of vegetables. So we also need to eat more vegetables. Drinking more spring water, because spring water has minerals in it. So that's my preferred choice of water. What else? Also eating, like some whole grains, but like ancient grains that we haven't heard about in a long time, like spelt flour and tough flour and quinoa and kamut. And I know when I say this stuff, y'all are gonna be like, what?
Right.
Like, I've never heard about this. But if you but if you actually start to look for these different types of ancient grains, you will find them. And if you're in the Atlanta area, you can go to the DeKalb Farmers Market and get them really cheap. You can get like a whole thing of spelt flour for maybe like $3, and you can make pancakes for yourself. So the foods that we eat is really, really important. And it's just important for us to understand that if you have melanin in your body, that you were primarily eating a plant-based diet.
Right.
Of course, we did eat some meat, but right now it's excessive because a lot of us are eating meat every single day, multiple times a day. Right. And that's clogging up our arteries, and it's also causing us to accumulate a lot of mucus within our bodies. And that's not something, again, that our ancestors were doing, because if the men went out and they were hunting an animal, the whole tribe would eat the animal. It wouldn't be like, one family would have a whole turkey or something. It was something that everybody would share. So I just think it's important for us to think about that when we're living in the society of excess. That it's just important to think about what the ancestors were eating and trying to do more of that. Because I know, especially us, a lot of Black people, we do not eat enough fruits and not enough vegetables. So in my opinion, I always feel like that's the easiest way for us to get back to where we need to be, by drinking more water, eating more fruits, and eating more vegetables. And then even when it comes down to the energetic levels of it, in terms of energy, when you're eating these fruits and vegetables, like, they're getting their energy from the sun, right? And the sun has high vibrational energy. So when you eat those foods, it's going to give you more life. In contrast to eating an animal, especially in this day and age where the animal has been dead for a very long period of time, and the animal is growing up in inhumane conditions. Because at least back in the days, again, if we're referring it back to the ancestors, the animal is roaming free and living a free life, and then we would try to get the kill shot so that it would die immediately, so that the adrenaline and that the stress hormones aren't pumping through the animal's body. But now we're living in a state where these animals are treated inhumanely, and they have these stress hormones pumping throughout their body, on top of the steroids that they're putting in there, and just all these chemicals that they're putting in there. So when you're eating that animal, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it's just transferred. If you're eating an animal that was stressed, you are going to be consuming that stressed energy. If that animal is living in fear, you are going to be consuming that energy of fear. So I just feel like that's something really important for us to consider. Because again, back in the days, they were living free, living a free life, and it's not like that anymore. So I know I touched on a lot of different points. Is there anything you want me to clarify on, or?
I do want to just go through and recap, make sure that everybody
Okay.
got everything that you said. So you definitely first said, well, I don't know if this is in order, but let me know if I miss anything.
Okay.
So we said that, we need to follow the dietary guidelines and the practices of our ancestors. So that is going towards the more seeded fruits and going towards the more vegetables in general. And you said the less processed grains. Are they less processed or just ancient grains? The spelt.
Preferably the ancient grains, because those have been here for a long time. The issue with things like wheat and stuff is that it's genetically modified, and then white flour is processed and bleached, so it's stripped of nutrients. And then who wants to eat something that's bleached? It's just weird. Why would you want to eat bleach, even if it's in small amounts?
Right.
So, but yes, definitely want to stay away from processed grains as much as possible.
Okay, definitely. And just going there, what are some of your favorite substitution meals that you've made with the ancient grains? So just giving some recipe ideas for those so we can look it up and just taste something and just get maybe, put a little toe in the world of just eating healthier and being more mindful.
I actually have a video that I made for the children when I was cooking for the beautiful children, where we made some spelt pancakes. So I love using spelt flour to make pancakes. You can use teff flour too, but teff flour is more dense. So that's just something to keep in mind. But you can make pancakes, muffins, waffles. You can fry food. If you want to have something fried, you can still fry it in those flours. And if you go to the DeKalb Farmers Market, they have kamut flakes. I just love the DeKalb Farmers Market. I'm like plugging them. But they have these kamut flakes, which is like a cereal that's made from kamut flour. So that's a healthier option. Of course, you can make quinoa, but if you don't really like quinoa, you can make a fruit salad and then just mix the quinoa in there. So then you don't even really taste it. You just kind of see quinoa on the fruit.
Yeah.
So that's a creative way.
That is a creative way.
Yeah. And of course, you can have like couscous. I don't really like couscous like that, but some people do.
Yeah.
Couscous. I mean, I gotta be honest. I don't like everything. But yeah, wild rice.
Okay.
I love wild rice and black rice. If you want to have rice, definitely go for those.
Okay.
But yeah, so those are just some of the ways that I use the ancient grains.
Yes, thank you. So let's see, what else? You definitely pointed on the higher vibrational foods that are fruits and vegetables versus the pretty much low vibrational, if you will, and the adverse of just carbs and anything that is not grown, honestly, out the ground. So it's like, and how it makes us feel differently based off of, because we are, like you say, consuming, and consuming is a form of transference. So that's why, we feel tired after eating pancakes, French toast, eggs, bacon, and syrup with some, whatever on the side, versus when we eat for breakfast, now talking about breakfast and how important that is, versus eating a balanced meal of a fruit salad with some couscous thrown inside so you can get some grains in there, or, how both of them provide energy, but one provides way more than the other one. And just making sure that we really think about how we're eating and think about, how it makes us feel. Let me see. What else did you touch on? I'm trying to remember.
Let's think. So I'm an Aries, so my mind was like everywhere.
Hey,
But I know I touch on everything. But But yeah, but back to what you were saying though about the foods. So yeah, basically we're living in a day and age where we eat food and it can give us energy, but it may not nourish us, just like you were saying. So you can eat these different, devitalized grains and dairy and stuff like that, but it's not going to give you the right amount of nutrients in comparison to having the fruits. And for me, for me personally, I like to have fruit in the morning. So that's my preferred choice because again, it's getting its energy from the sun.
Yes.
And the sun is like just such a life giver and it's so ancient and it's just giving out so much free energy, high vibes. So it's really important to eat foods that are absorbing that energy. So then you're also absorbing that high vibrational energy.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah.
That just reminds me, once that makes me want to bring up just getting outside too, because just I do remember you brought up steams, and that was something else that releases toxins. So even just sitting in the sun, if you don't have a sauna nearby or you don't want to steam out your bathroom because you know water mode situations, you never know. So it's like you can get outside and let the sun just release naturally all the toxins that are just in our skin. Like that's just another way. It's crazy how much we are given to be alive, well, and nourishing. And it's just, taking the time to go back to recenter, to remember that, like we already said, we already have everything that we need. And it comes from the sun, it comes from the ground. And we can't rely on animals as much as we could anymore. And that, is unfortunate when we want to eat some good marinated chicken or just something just to, celebrate or what have you, because the breeding techniques are just different. So it actually reminds me of a conversation I was having with a business partner or a relative of mine. We're just talking. And so we were talking about how John Lewis, he lived through so much. Like when you look at everywhere where he was at Selma and marching every time with Martin, and he knew John F. Kennedy, so the amount of stress that's just knowing a person becoming the president, like it's just, he lived through so much stress. He probably wasn't necessarily plant-based, but even if he was eating meat, he was eating a meat of higher quality than we have now, because these properties and these procedures are new. They're within the most recent decades, because now we have to deal with the population boom, and we're just diminishing the quality of our food for the quick buck of just getting food on the table. So, it is an interesting time.
It is an interesting time because we are over consuming and then they are changing all the practices.
Yeah.
They're growing the chickens where the chicken used to be this big. Now they're putting hormones in it and it's growing. On top of the sad thing they're doing to vegetables and fruits. With all the genetically modified fruits and vegetables. I had an apple the other day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, disgusting. I was so mad. It was so mushy.
Ew.
There was something wrong with it. Like, yeah, we are living in an interesting time.
Yes. And that reminds me of, there used to be this video on Instagram that was just like, check your cabbage by burning it, like lighting a flame to it.
Oh.
And some of them shrivel up like plastic, and it's just like, it does it because it's in the food. Like they stretch our food now to just involve non-natural properties, and just it's crazy the amount of things that we're given. So it makes you make sure that you want to go to a farmer's market, and it makes you make sure that if you can plant something just like in a little garden or something. And also gardens help us practice mindfulness, because you can't think about anything else except breaking that leaf or moving that plant over and being appreciative that the plant's still alive, you know?
Yes.
So.
Very true. I'm just hoping that as we continue to progress as people, that all of the different things that are coming up are really just going to force us to reconnect with the present moment and to just really be here and to be grateful for everything that we have. Because, like we've already touched on, we all have everything that we need,
Right.
like with the sun and with the soil and the plants. And we're just living in this false reality, this false perception, and just over consuming because we don't even need to eat as often as we think that we need to eat.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
that's
fasting is healthy. Fasting is good for you.
fasting.
Fasting also gets rid of mucus in the
It,
body.
it does. And, you know, for those who don't think that we fast naturally, we fast when we go to sleep. So even if you don't think you have done a fast before, we've all fasted because that is what breakfast is breaking the fast. So,
Exactly.
so
Thank you.
look, little hint right there.
Girl, just drop it.
But definitely just wrapping this up because don't want to be too long, but I do want to add, you know, one more fact and we can discuss it, and then I want to ask you a question. So,
Okay.
or maybe this is a research theory that I'm coming across. I keep coming across that our stomachs hold the majority of the bacteria that relates to um, our immune system, as well as breaking down our foods, as well as our gut is the physical area where we harbor stress and any type of negative emotion that causes our nervous system to like go into hyperdrive. So being that the stomach is so important, you know, just that is a further affirmation to what we're already been talking about this whole podcast. That is so important to eat well. That is so important to have mucus eliminating foods taken at least, you know, maybe a day out of the week. You make sure that you eat mucus eliminating foods for that day and then detox. Honestly, you know, it's a natural principle. Just from books that I've been reading, I've read it's a natural principle for us and our ancestors to have a detox every cycle. And being that the cycle was based off of the moon, we didn't have calendars like we had now. We would have a detox every 30 or so days. And so just introducing those principles back so that we can give our bodies a break from just always putting something in it that it has to work to push back out. So any thoughts on that? And then I have a question for you.
I mean, I honestly love that. I think that we definitely need to do that to give our bodies a break at least once a month. I 100% agree. And I would urge people, like, if you don't know what to do, like if you're completely lost and don't know what to do, I would recommend either start by eating some fruit in the morning, or if you're worried, like maybe if you have, you know, diabetes and you're worried about blood sugar and you don't want to start with fruit, then I would say eat something green with every meal. But just start with something like that. Just really start with adding more things into your diet as opposed to removing stuff.
Right.
I think that's like a good first step because then, you know, when you're removing, you have that scarcity mindset.
Right.
So yeah, I think that that's important. And I 100% agree with the detoxing, you know, at least once a month. I think that that's so important because again, we are over consuming. We eat way more than we're supposed to. We can survive off of much less food.
Definitely agree. So now I have one final question for you. So
Yes.
in regards to the Case for Black Reparations, this is a closing question that I ask everybody. What do you think is a topic or a few topics that we have been miseducated upon as Black people, descendants of the Pan-African diaspora, that we should research? You know, it could be something that we already said and it's just reaffirming that point, or it could be something that you have come to recognize just in your experiences that you just want to share, and it helps people who want to look into it because it's now going to further their education?
One of the biggest things we've been miseducated on is history and not knowing our history. I think that is the most important, because within history lies everything. Within the history lies, like, you know, how we should nourish ourselves. Within the history lies, you know, who we really are as a people. I think history is the biggest thing and the most important thing. And if I can plug a documentary, I feel like I'm just plugging people. But this is one really amazing documentary that's called Out of Darkness. You can find it on Amazon Prime, or maybe just search the internet. But that's an amazing documentary. I think that it's really important for us to educate ourselves on who we are, and then that will help us to know like what we should be doing.
Right.
So yeah. So I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because in history is everything.
That's very true. That's very true. So that being said, thank you so much for talking with me. It's been amazing seeing your beautiful face again. And I just wish the best wishes, success, and blessings on everything that you're about to do and everything that's already coming towards you, just so that you're accepting it and just doing what you know best to do. And that's just be you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for creating this platform and for this, and just sharing your positive energy with everybody, and even coming up with the idea of a case for Black reparations. Like, I think this is so pivotal and it's so important. And again, just like how we mentioned, like, Black reparations is not just money. It is information, knowledge, wisdom. That's what it is, because we were stripped of that. Right. And that's something that we have to take back ourselves. So you doing this is just so important for our people, so important for the world. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for reaching out to me.
Thank you. So. Oh, goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that being said, have a beautiful day, and definitely want to send you, like, when it comes out. Normally the podcast comes out on all the streaming channels on Wednesdays, so I will send you the link so you have it and you can store it for your own personal records and put it on your site if you want to, because everybody in your network needs to hear this, and just proliferating the education. So thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. And until we talk next time, because we're going to talk.
Exactly. Thank you. And you have a beautiful day too. And a beautiful journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.